Hello everyone, my name is Reggie and welcome to my channel. By the inclusion of my wand in this video and my Hogwarts shirt, plus the fact that you read the title, you'll know that this video is me sorting my favorite books into Hogwarts houses. So I'm going to be picking, I think there's 10 on this list of my all-time favorite books, and I will be deciding which house I think they fall into, whether that's like what house I think the main character would be in, what the plot screams to me, the vibes of the book, etc. I didn't plan this. I haven't decided what houses they're going into yet, so I don't know if I have a fair distribution between all four houses. I don't even know that I have a book that will fit all four houses, though I believe I do. I've been thinking about doing Hogwarts recommendations videos, but everyone does those, and I just feel like this was a little bit of a more unique twist on that kind of video, and I'm excited to do it. First up, we have The Martian by Andy Weir. This is an adult science fiction following our main character, Mark Watney, who is abandoned on Mars. Basically, he's on a space mission to Mars. There is a storm, and they have to leave Mars immediately. He's presumed dead, and so they leave, and he is on Mars alone. It'll be like 5 years until a ship can get back to Mars, and he has to learn how to survive on a literally uninhabitable planet. I honestly think you can make a case for multiple houses with this book. I think you can make a case for Hufflepuff because some of the overarching themes are like the joys of humanity and humankind and what happens when people band together. But I think I'm actually going to sort this book into Ravenclaw, and that's because this book, some of the biggest complaints of people reading this book is how science heavy it is. The jargon is just chock full in this book because Mark really goes into how he's going to survive, what he's going to do. He's really methodical. I'm not going to tell you how this book ends, if he dies, if he lives, if he gets off, if he doesn't, but in order to even attempt to survive, he has to be so smart and so methodical and so precise in every movement, and he is such a creative problem solver, and his creative muscles and how he decides to like try to live on a planet that you're not able to live on is so fascinating, and I think that's the mark of a true Ravenclaw, and that is kind of like what the book to me is about, and that's what the journey of this book is. So I'm definitely hardcore. This is a Ravenclaw book. Next up, we have The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. This is another book, actually I think you could probably say this for every book on this list. This is a book that you could probably sort into multiple houses, but the one that screams out to me immediately is Slytherin. This book is an angry feminist story about our main character Alex, whose older sister was raped and murdered. The presumed murderer was let off without any charges because there wasn't enough evidence against him, but Alex is convinced it's him. So she goes on her own journey of revenge to kill this guy. So it's a dark plot, but this like busts open a really great dialogue of rape culture and feminism and things like that. That ruthless pursuit of your own kind of justice that Alex is seeking just screams Slytherin to me. Next up, we have The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. It is starring our main character, Star Carter, starring our main character, Star. Maybe not my best word choice. The main plot of the story revolves around her childhood best friend getting shot while she is in the car. She is the only sole witness to what happened. He was shot while unarmed by a white police officer, and so, like I said, this is inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement. The story is a lot about, obviously, what happens in the face of that, but also what Star has to go through, her own personal journey of finding her voice, finding how to speak out if she wants to speak out, what she's going to do. I think this is such a Gryffindor book to me, especially when you think about Star. There's a line in here, I wish I could find it, but I have so many tabs I wouldn't be able to find it quickly. The line is depicting that bravery isn't being not afraid. Bravery is doing what you need to do regardless of being afraid. If that line doesn't scream Gryffindor to you, I don't know what does. Next up, we have Reconstructing Mailing Up by Kimberly McRae, which is one of my all-time favorite books. Don't know why I said that, because literally every book on this list is one of my all-time favorite books. This story is about a young girl named Amelia and her mother. Her mother, when this book opens, gets a phone call that says there's been an accident at the school, you need to come immediately. When Amelia's mom gets there, she is told that Amelia jumped off the building and is dead. The story is told in two timelines. The first is Amelia's mom going forward after the incident, trying to figure out what happened, why Amelia did this, if Amelia did this. She doesn't think she would have. Was she just so out of touch with her daughter? Did she not know anything about her? The second narrative is in the past, leading up to the incident, with Amelia's perspective and like things that were happening in her life and things like that. It's really emotional, it's very touching, and I think I would put this book in Hufflepuff because a lot of Amelia's story plots deal with her school friends. Obviously, Amelia's mom's story plot deals with her relationship with her daughter, and I think regardless of how you feel about the relationships in this book is so purely about relationships and what those relationships mean. This book talks a lot about what loyalty is and what it isn't, especially in Amelia's perspective. Not every character in this book is kind. The way it discusses relationships really screams Hufflepuff to me. I don't necessarily think this book could be classified as Gryffindor unless you're thinking about Amelia specifically, who does identify, I believe, as lesbian. I know she likes girls. I don't know if it's described on the page how she identifies. I haven't read this book in a long time. But I mean, I could consider Amelia herself a Gryffindor in the way she tackles some of the situations, but I think the way this book presents itself, very Hufflepuff to me. Next up, we have Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert. This is a Hufflepuff book if I've ever read one. First of all, the story follows two siblings who are step-siblings. Their parents married. It talks about those family dynamics. It talks about a mixed modern family because Little is black, Lion is white. When they go out in public and say, hey, this is my sibling, people kind of give them a look. It talks about coming out because Little is going through the process of identifying and coming out as bisexual. We have beautiful sibling and family dynamics in this book because Lion was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, so the family is coming to terms with that and learning how to help and handle that. With all of those things, how could you not say this is a Hufflepuff book? Like, the characters, the siblings, the friendships, how deeply personal, person to person it is. Especially Little's relationship with Lion is what stresses to me a Hufflepuff book, because she is so protective and loyal and concerned for her brother. Anytime someone bad talks him, doesn't know anything about what's going on with him, she is very protective of him, and she is loyal to a fault, so much to the fact that her parents sent her away to boarding school because they think she is too focused on her brother's well-being. Next up, we have We Were Liars. This is a hard one. This is one, again, I think you can make a case for every house. So We Were Liars is a YA kind of thriller, kind of contemporary. I would consider it a contemporary thriller about the Sinclair family. The Sinclair family are a wealthy family. They go off to an island retreat that they own every summer. This book takes place a few years after an incident happened on the island, and Cadence doesn't remember what happened, and so this book is trying to piece together what happened. So you have a few flashbacks or memories start to come together while she's on the island. Mysterious vibes. Rich family, does some super sketch things, wants you to put it in Slytherin. A young girl who's super scared about what's happening but is still trying to figure out this missing piece of her brain and these missing memories of the significant thing that happened. Definitely wants me to put it in Gryffindor because that's a super brave and scary thing she's doing, and she relentlessly pursues trying to find those answers in a lot of instances. Part of me, a very, very small part of me, could put this in Ravenclaw because it's a thriller and you're trying to figure out, piece together those pieces. Another part of you could put this in Hufflepuff because a lot of the things she's dealing with are family and best friend dynamics. Whew, that's so hard. I think I want to put this in Slytherin. I think out of all of those descriptions I gave you, I think Slytherin is the best one, because some of the things that are going down in this book are super shady. This is a hard one. If you've read this, where would you put this? I don't know if Slytherin's right, but it's what I'm going with. Next up, we have Golden by Jessie Kirby. This is a book about a young girl named Parker, who is a straight A, Stanford scholarship-bound student who has never stepped a toe out of line. As she approaches graduation, she realizes that maybe she missed out on the high school experience by doing everything according to plan. So she decides to try to do something a little rebellious. In her act of rebellion, she actually finds a journal of a girl who died at their school a few years ago. Instead of handing it in, she takes it home and reads it. I'm going to put this in Gryffindor, and it's hard to describe because, again, it's spoilery. Basically, this journal takes her on a journey of sorts, and the things she does in that journey are pretty brave and interesting and different than what she do, and those choices she makes helps her become a braver person and pursue the things she wants to do instead of the things she thinks she has to do. So I definitely think, because of the themes, the way this book leads to, and the decisions Parker eventually makes, I think this book is completely Gryffindor, but I don't think it starts off that way. Next up, we have The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This is hard because part of me really wants to put this in Ravenclaw because it's so mystical and wild, and I think the dreamlike, eerie quality of it is so attractive to a Ravenclaw. But this book, the big draw of this book is the characters and their relationships and their friendships, so you have to put it in Hufflepuff. But it still kind of screams Ravenclaw to me. Next up, we have Girl, Fire, and Thorns by Ray Carson. This is such a good book, so underhyped. This is a fantasy story about a young girl who is the bearer of the Godstone. Basically, it means God has chosen her to be a chosen one, destined to do something great, and you don't know what that is. Alyssa herself is a Ravenclaw. The things she does in this book are very Gryffindor-esque. This book has so much to it. It's very hard to put into a house. While it's a journey story, which kind of makes you think Gryffindor, I think I really want to put this into Ravenclaw just because Alyssa is such a Ravenclaw. Her special ability is her strategic brain. And how she thinks about things is very different than other people and definitely different than other princesses in the realm. I think her strength is her brain. So we're gonna go with Ravenclaw. So now we have 2 Slytherin, 2 Gryffindor, 2 Ravenclaw, 3 Hufflepuff books, and 1 book left to sort. So these aren't all of my favorite books ever. I could do more, so if you want another video like this, let me know. But I couldn't do this video without trying to sort my favorite book of all time, Buried by Frederick Bachman. But here's the thing. I have no freaking clue where to put this book at all. So let's talk about it and see if I can figure it out. But this book is the story of a small town, bear town in Sweden, who is super obsessed with hockey. This town breathes a personality of its own. I often say that the town feels like a character in itself because it is described so perfectly. There are so many characters within this town. Like I said, they're super obsessed with hockey. And that's kind of like their claim to fame, the thing they're all excited about and interested in. The inciting incident of this book is when one of the star hockey players is accused of raping the coach's daughter. I think it's the coach, might be like the DM, something like that. After that inciting incident, the story delves into how the town deals with that, how they feel about that, how they treat the star hockey player, how they treat the girl who was raped. And we see the rape, so it's not like a perceived rape. He did rape her, but the town victim blames her. And so it's this big dynamic and discussion of like toxic masculinity in sports, feminism, rape culture, talks a lot about victim blaming, slut shaming, things like that. Where to put this book? I think I want to put this book into Ravenclaw, and the reason I say that is because it looks at every angle of the situation. We see so many characters' perspectives and why they feel the way they do. We really tackle into what victim blaming does to this character. We tackle what the truth does to characters. We tackle how this changes people, how it affects people. But in the way this is told, it's looking at not just the characters on a character level, even though it does that very well. It's taking a look at these big issues and kind of dissecting them through this lens of like sports and this tight-knit community. And I think the way the story is told, it deals with these heavy topics and it deals with these characters intimately, but it deals with these broad topics so broadly that I think it's really methodical in its approach. And for that reason, I think I'm gonna put it in Ravenclaw. Not just because it's my favorite book of all time and I'm a Ravenclaw, but because I think that makes the most sense to me. And I hope it makes sense to you. So let's go through the books I sorted into what houses. I put We Were Liars by E. Lockhart and The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis in Slytherin. I put The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas and The Golden by Jessie Kirby in Gryffindor. I put The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, Reconstructing Mailing Up by Kimberly McCray, and Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert all into Hufflepuff. I put The Martian by Andy Weir, The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson, and Beartown by Frederick Bachman, all in Ravenclaw. So if you've read any of those books, you should definitely let me know if you agree with my sorting or if you would put them in another house. If you decide to put them in another house, let me know why in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!